Hello, welcome back in the next submodule of process skills. In this submodule, we are going to discuss a very important basic process skill known as classifying. You all know that in science teaching learning, many times you present such kind of content in front of your learners or you expose them in such a situation where they have to use the classification skill. What classification skill is? Actually, classification skill is necessary for acquisition and ordering the information for understanding. Because the information which is available for your learners or you provide to your learners is sometimes scattered, and sometimes you purposely present it in a scattered form so that they can arrange that information in a particular order. So classification skill allow us and our learners to organize the observations. That's why I'm talking about this skill after observation, because in classification the role of observation is very important. Classification is basically a systematic grouping of the items based on some criteria. So what is the key take from this slide? The key take from this slide is that classification is always based on some criteria. Let us see how we can develop classification skills among our learners. First, we should ask our learners to identify the attribute as the basis for classification. Whatever they want to classify, in whatever groups they want to classify the material or things presented to them, first they have to identify the characteristics or the attribute on the basis of which they will classify the things which have been presented to them. Then they should ensure that whatever attribute they are identifying, it should match with the characteristics of the items. Means that attribute should be a part of items. Like if they want to classify the things on the basis of color, so if you are providing the things of different color, only then they can classify things on the basis of color. If they want to classify the things on the basis of their touch, so you should provide them the material which has different types of surface. So some are of rough surface, some are of smooth surface. Only then they can divide or classify the material on the basis of texture. So whatever attribute they are identifying for the classification, that characteristic should be with the items which they want to classify. And one more thing which is very important, you should tell to your learners that classification has a purpose. Classification, whenever we classify the material or whenever our learner will classify the material, they will classify it for a purpose, for a objective. So the purpose of the classification should be clear to them. Different learners can classify the same material or things in different way. Yes, it is possible in your class. If you provide them a variety of material, some may classify on the basis of color, some may classify it on the basis of shape, some may classify it on the basis of texture, some may classify it on the basis of their origin, some may classify it on the basis of their shapes or the angles they have. So variety of classifications are possible for the same types of material, and no classification is wrong. You should encourage your learners to classify the material in different ways. That's why classification is a skill which requires higher level of thinking, because they have to identify the purpose. And when they think about the purpose, when they think about the attributes, when they think about the commonalities on the basis of which they want to classify the material, they will apply their higher level of thinking, and it will help you in developing their higher level of thinking. Let us see how classification takes place. Classification is a process of imposing order on collection of objects or events based on some criteria. Let us see what these criteria may be. The first criteria of the classification may be similarities, as you can see in the picture. A child has classified the beans on the basis of similarity in their color. So he or she can classify the things into different categories on the basis of similarities, what he or she is viewing or observing in a particular material. Second may be the differences. So they can classify the things on the basis of differences also. And also they can classify the things on the basis of interrelationships. Means things which are interrelated to each other, they can be in one group. and the things which are in not interrelated to each other can be in another group. So we can classify the things on the basis of similarities, we can classify the things on the basis of differences, and we can classify the things on the basis of interrelationships. Now, your role is to design the activities where learner can classify the things on the basis of similarities, interrelationships, and differences. Let's go further and design some activities. Thank you. Thank you very much.